Welcome to Canada, everybody. Week number 9, race 3 here tonight for the Silverback Tax Series. I'm Greg Olenek, joined by Brandon Domain. Brandon, you can tell everybody in the chat, I've been practicing this for about 20 or so attempts now. We're at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve.
And that was the best one yet. Woo! I'm proud of you there. So yes, we are at well, bienvenue. We are at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve out here in Montreal and in the land of Molson and hockey and poutine and all the greatness that is up there north of the border in Canada. SRN's first trip to Canada, and it's here in the Xfinity Series, in a circuit that the actual Xfinity Series ran out for a good decade here. Always some tight racing. See how these guys can navigate a tricky road course here tonight.
Yeah, it's going to be a tricky one indeed. Our second road course of the week. We were there in the Cup Series on Tuesday at Indy, up at the Indy road course, with Adrian Schumacher winning that race by, well, a lot. We'll just say that. And he's in the field again tonight, so it's a safe bet he is going to be a contender as well. But let's go ahead and dive right into these week number 9 standings here in the Silverback Series here, and this is with drop weeks included now here, so this is going to start getting important. Jacob Manning there at the top of the board with his one win now after winning a few weeks ago before the Christmas break at Nashville Super Speedway. He's got a pretty healthy gap over 16. Kyle Benson, Joshua Balliet, Austin Reedy, and Joshua Susi all in the top 5, but I'll tell you what, from 4th on down, it's still a pretty tight race to that cut line.
It really is. I mean, you look at, I would say from Jovi Ray on back, still within the possibility of falling out within one race with the way that the points are. It would take kind of a perfect storm for Martin, Susi, or Reedy to have that same kind of effect, but they are mathematically still possible. But yeah, it's still a very tight race. But what that has done, though, look at that gap between Max Service and Corey Stahl. And when we go to the next page of this, you'll see that gap open up even more. So as somebody that is a bit of a bubble driver myself on the Cup side, I'm a little envious of Max Service right now. Got a pretty good cushion back there with 12 points, but then 25 back to 17th place Craig Lautenslager.
And I'm looking right at 20th right now. I've already mentioned his name, 32 points back in the cut line. This is where these guys who are better at road courses can really take advantage of an opportunity, and that's exactly what Adrian Schumacher has tonight to close the gap on that cut line. I don't think he's going to be able to close it too much with 29 cars in the field tonight, but still will be able to close it nonetheless if he is able to get this car to the end of this race. So that's a look at your top 32 here as this field starts to dwindle down a little bit more through the season. We've had about 30 to 35 cars here of late, so each and every one of these guys still contending with all the way through 30. It's still within a race of that cut line. So let's move on to the team championship here. Week 8 results right on your screen. Murray Reedy Motorsports getting the 108 to 59 win over Highline Racing. JW, that was a healthy win as Barr was a little bit shorthanded last week. 108 to 29, tying the high score with Murray Reedy. And JBR getting a slim win over Blackout Racing, 69 to 52. And Tank Racing coming away with the W, 104 to 92 over Phoenix.
Yeah, last week a bit of chalk out there with all the favorites, at least when you go by the records, all pulling out a win over teams with lower records going into that. But as we look at this week's matchups, not much chalk that you can say out there, because this is going to be a very, very level week of competition on the team side.
Yeah, you look at that, you see PBR going up against Blackout, two teams looking for a chance to come away with a win there. They need it. Tank going up against JW, 7-1 in matchups there. That's your matchup of the week here in the Silverback Tax Series. Barr going to go up against Highline Racing, 5-1 teams. And Murray Reedy Motorsports looking to go on against Jonathan Bayer Racing here tonight. Each and every one of these teams trying to come away with a win here tonight. So let's take a look at those standings before we head out there on the track. Let's see if I can go ahead and bring it up. There they are. JW Racing, Tank Racing, both tied, but JW has that points advantage. Murray Reedy Motorsports on back. They're going to need to start making a push to those top 2 spots.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty tough at this point. Keep in mind, we do still go through week 17, not the week 13 that the individuals do. So that'll be the cutoff at this point. So still a little bit more time, but that gap pretty significant there from second on down. The big matchup as well, looking past that 7-1 dual matchup. Murray, Reedy, and JBR this week. If JBR can get a win, they pull Murray, Reedy back into that pile with everybody else, and they would move into third, at least in a tie for third at that point themselves.
Well, looking like qualifying's all wrapped up, so while they get gritted up out here at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, let's go ahead and give a shout out, as always, to Butt Kicker for coming on board here this season. As always, they've been here since the beginning when we were even Mid-South Madness, and please go ahead, check out what they got. Their equipment is amazing. Brandon, I was asking you a few weeks ago, you're a newcomer to the Butt Kicker here, and I think you're still in the process of hooking it up, but man, you are going to love it.
Yeah, still figuring it out, still getting all the settings and everything sorted out on that one, but a little bit of a process to get it going, but once you do, always hear amazing things. Can't wait to get all that running.
Absolutely. So let's head on down here. You see the beautiful shot from the blimp cam. Yeah, that's a lot of water on your screen. You're going to see that a lot here tonight.
Yeah, it's a very scenic racetrack, a very difficult racetrack. We'll get a good look at it as this race goes on. But as we kind of expect, the two road course ringers out there, well, they're going to be starting on the front row with Adrian Schumacher and Joshua Balliet first and second. Austin Reedy and Joshua Susi will make up row number 2. Daniel Bowdler will be starting fifth, and Canadian in the field with a little bit of a home race. Max Service will be in position number 6.
Yeah, you know Max is going to want to show up here tonight. Jacob Manning, Logan Truitt, Jacob last week's winner. That's going to be row number 4. Cody Neal and Devin Zimmerman rounding out the top 5 rows in your top 10 here tonight. Kyle Benson and Jovi Ray in row 6.
And row number 7, it's going to be a JBR pair of Joshua Marcy and Nathan De La Rosa. And row number 8, it'll be a JW Racing pair with Michael Larch and Seth Reed making up 15th and 16th. 17th place will be Chris Bishop out of Murray Reedy Motorsports. And then JBR's own Jonathan Byer will be in position number 18.
Yeah, Nick Holliday, Cole Martin going to round out the top 20. Josh Siegfried, Bo Tiffany in row number 11. Craig Lautenslager, Jack Johnson going to be in row number 12. Rounding out the rest of the field, you got Corey Stahl, Dalton McKinney in row 13. Jeff Radke, Lucas Lyons in row 14. And you got Kyle Spees in 29th position. So, yeah, that's the water all around the track. Kind of looks a little bit like Jell-O, if you ask me, Brandon. That's how much I'm going to say about that.
Put the details into the track, not so much into the water. But they come down the Casino Straight, a little bit of a mini run as the pace car already ready to dive off before they hit the wall of champions here, the final chicane. We're getting ready to go in Montreal.
All right, Brandon, we always got to ask, even though we got this heavy hitter here in the Xfinity Series, Adrian, really good on these road courses. Who you got here tonight as we see that Silverback Tax Solutions green flag waving?
You know what, as they get ready to roll through that Senna S, I'm going to stick with a little bit of a note I said during the starting lineup. I'll skip past Schumacher and Balliet. I'll go with the Canadian Max Service out there in the 81.
All right, I'm going to take the obvious pick. I'm taking Schumacher tonight. He's going to do it, double up this week, taking 2 wins. I know, I tricked you into not taking him.
I was probably going to look past those top 2 anyway, but keep in mind, last road course that we had at Watkins Glen earlier this season, it was Joshua Balliet that won that race over Adrian Schumacher. They're 1-2 right now as they make their way through the first half of this lap, about 1.25 miles into it right now. It's Schumacher 1, Balliet 2, and already a second ahead of Joshua Susi.
Great battle right here between the Tank Racing teammates Schumacher and Balliet. You can tell they've been practicing together all week, and you know each one of them wants to beat the other here and come out on top for the first time in Canada in Speed Racing Network. So coming through the turns here, I've got to get the numbers down in my book. Brandon, you're going to be better versed in that section. It's going to take me a few laps to get to this circuit.
Well, the most notable one they're coming up on right now, and that'll be the hairpin, turn number 10. This is a pretty iconic turn with this racetrack. Very slow speed to make your way around there. Kind of reminds you of Long Beach a little bit if you're an Indy fan. But what that did do, inside look for Joshua Balliet. He's going to pull away as they head towards the wall of champions, that final chicane at the end of the Casino Straight.
Sorry to cut you off. Curious to know if he got the boot there a little bit. Balliet might put the bumper to his teammate Schumacher, try and get away from him here. But now that's going to put Susi to an advantage on the 82 now. So Adrian Schumacher back to third after the first lap.
You know what? Not too. I think that's part of his style, though. He's normally been good about settling in. Even did that at Indy a couple of nights ago, where early on it was Joseph Causey that was leading that race. Adrian Schumacher made his way around, and then I'm pretty sure led 43 straight laps after that one. I was just happy. I considered it a win that I finished on the same lap as Adrian Schumacher. That's how fast he was at Indy. So I don't think he's out of the woods here yet. I don't think he's in trouble yet, but he does have a pretty good battle for third with Austin Reedy on his back bumper.
Yeah, Austin looking really strong with the win already here this season, and right on the bumper of Schumacher. Schumacher's gotten a little bit away now as he's putting the charge on Josh Soucy just in front of him, but great battle here in the top 5 early on. Not want to lose too many spots and have to pass these cars, so that's what Adrian Schumacher's thinking right now as he puts the pressure on Soucy.
And it's a difficult track to find some passing opportunities as well as they get ready to go into the chicane for turns 8 and 9 here. And it's just such a narrow racetrack. You can probably get about, you physically can get 3 wide. I would not recommend that one bit out there on the racetrack. But side by side is going to be difficult. The passing zones, there's a lot of heavy braking. But you also got to think, it's kind of like Indy was on Tuesday. There's those braking points, but if you really get in too deep, it's going to hold you up on the exit. It's really exaggerated for what you're typically used to on a road course.
So riding on board Adrian Schumacher's perspective here on the backstretch, coming to the final set of turns before getting to the start-finish line here. You can see he's got a guy to his outside, and that is Austin Reedy, not giving up the pressure yet. Oh, he tries to undercut him there, gives him a little bit of bump. And Adrian's going to be able to hang on to it.
And that's going to be one of those zones. It's very tempting to try to make a pass under braking going into that final chicane, but the really hard thing is it's so narrow to get through there. Going side by side is not going to be something that I would expect to see until maybe the last lap if somebody's going for the win. That's just a risky proposition out there for anybody to try to side by side.
Looks like Benson's having trouble with the handling on his one car here. He just lost 2 positions now side by side with Logan Truitt. This is for 8th. Logan's going to think better of it. Zimmerman just got by heading into turn 1, so Benson going to try hard to get this 7th position back as Devin Zimmerman already up 3 spots.
Yeah, he's working his way through pretty well, actually, and one of the bigger movers through the field. In fact, I think the biggest mover I'm looking at right now is Jeff Radke, who's running in 17th. He's plus 10 out there at this point, so a big run for that number 8 car working through the field, and he's having a pretty strong. I did not expect that picture.
I wasn't expecting it either.
But a plus 10 after 3 laps around here, and keep in mind, we're about a minute 40 a lap, minute 42 a lap, I should say, around this 2.7 mile racetrack, 37 laps. They can stretch it to a one-stop race. Question is if they're going to want to do that for the tires, as wear on this racetrack pretty heavy.
Yeah, so Jeff Radke going to look to maybe pick up a few more spots as he's already gotten 10 on the board. Back out in front, you see Joshua Balliet heading into the last chicane here, heading back to the start-finish line to complete the 3rd lap. He's gotten out to a pretty healthy margin, almost 4 seconds over Josh Soucy.
And I tell you what he did on Tuesday, he finished 3rd place, and I know all the talk went about Adrian Schumacher's dominance. Josh Balliet was started in the 4th position. He was right in front of me, spun on lap 1, and I had a great view of that one, actually. And I was kind of like, all right, well, he's kind of back there. And then next thing I know, he finishes 3rd in that race. Just an unbelievable run. Great road course driver. I think he kind of goes a little bit under the radar because of Adrian, as their teammates there just kind of takes that thunder a little bit. But I think both of them are incredibly accomplished road racers, and Josh finally might be starting to get his flowers now for being a good road course racer himself.
Yeah, having a great season here in the Silverback Tax Series as well. He came back here in Season 4 and came back with a vengeance, getting a win already here this season and looking like he might make it 2 here tonight, stealing one from his teammate who we all thought would be kind of the favorite here tonight. So Balliet kind of surprising everybody, but no surprise to him, I'm sure. And Max Service, just want to go ahead and shout him out real quick too, another tank racing driver. The 81 is up in the top 5 now after starting 6th. The lone Canadian driver trying to get on the podium here in Canada.
I was going to make a Molson reference, but I don't think he's quite old enough, actually, if I remember right, to enjoy the Molson product there. But, yeah, really good run there for the 81. And this isn't surprising to me because he is one of those patient drivers, very conservative out there, and that's going to be in high demand out here on this racetrack. You really got to be somebody that's going to take your time around there. Patience is going to be key because this is a very tricky racetrack with all these heavy braking zones.
Yeah, we've heard multiple people say that here tonight, that they're going to just take it easy and just kind of just keep the – ooh, you see Service get into the wall back there, using up all the track. And Susie under attack here from Adrian Schumacher. So, yeah, a lot of guys. You can see how spread out the field, just taking it easy, just taking advantage of people's mistakes. And sometimes that's what you got to do here at road courses if this isn't what you're used to.
Yeah, absolutely, and especially with the first time that a lot of these guys are running this racetrack. This isn't one that you see pop up on officials much anymore, at least in the Xfinity side. I believe it showed up in the truck side and the Cup side in the officials maybe about 6-7 months ago, but it hasn't shown up there, so it's kind of a little bit of an unknown for, I would say, probably half the field, if not a little bit more than that, before we got ready to come racing here, and it was announced that this was on the schedule. So a lot of guys still figuring it out, and honestly what I love to see in practice was we saw some pretty heavy time discrepancy out there. Ooh, nice little battle here between Zimmerman and Jovi Ray, but we saw a pretty heavy time discrepancy there from first on back, but over the course of practice it really got tighter and tighter and tighter as these guys are starting to figure this place out.
Yeah, moved Jovi Ray up into 9th, now up 3 positions from where he started in the 12th position. And a lot of people were genuinely excited when they saw some of the F1 circuits on the NASCAR schedule here in Speed Racing Network. And, 47 gets real deep. Cody Neal gets into Jovi, and this stacks up everything. The 35, Josh Marcy getting in there. Devin Zimmerman having to wait for it all to pan out, and the one coming away with the best out of that is going to be the 35. Picked up a couple spots right there.
Hey, he kind of got the benefit of being behind all of it and could just kind of seam his way through the little bit of trouble there. It looks like some pretty heavy damage there to the rear of Jovi Ray's 24 car. See if that kind of affects the handling a little bit. Looks like the spoiler might be fine from that angle. But it's still pretty high-speed racetrack. A lot of handling still going to be involved. And looking at that, looks like it should be okay.
Yeah, so that heated up quickly. But, yeah, back to my point, it's kind of fun coming to new tracks and seeing what you can get. And that's what a lot of these guys are doing right now. They're having some fun out there. And I think it was such a good idea. You kind of see the Coca-Cola series going to Monza now. I'm not going to say anything, Brandon, but, it's just a good idea. We're just going to leave it at that.
Maybe some inspiration from a league that they may or may not have heard of and probably not heard of, but you never know.
Well, nonetheless, we're excited to see a little bit of something different here. And right now, this battle has not changed. That is one thing that's not different. Josh Susie still under attack from Adrian Schumacher and Austin Reedy, all of them still within reach.
And there was a little bit where on my second screen it looked like Schumacher had the run and maybe got the nose out in front but wasn't able to keep it about a lap ago. It was coming down this straightaway right here. And so I think there was just a little bit of a bobble maybe on that the Wall of Champions, which is that final couple turns there at the end of this straight. But just really good exit on that hairpin for Susie. He's going to pull away nearly a second.
No kidding. Felt like he had a parachute on the 82 there with how he pulled away so fast out of that hairpin right there. But coming through the final chicane, he's going to have about a 2 or 3 car gap between him and the 82. Reedy's still right on the bumper. Let's go a little bit further back in the field. This is in 16th, 15th right here. Nathan De La Rosa, Chris Bishop, the 66 and the 42 going to battle. So a few battles around this track. And Brandon, I was pleasantly surprised with the size of the field here tonight. 29 cars will give us a lot of good action around Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. No, I think I messed that one up. A little harsh, but you're still good. But we'll call it 2.5 out of 3. But no, it's I was a little bit excited to see that too. I was getting a little worried when you see some of the comments, some of the nerves that people were having in the league Discord channel, things like that. You hear some people kind of just like not too excited sounding about it, but we're close to the playoffs. There's those opportunities to pick up points just by showing up, and you're also trying to not waste one of those drop weeks because you're nervous about a racetrack. I mean, this is one of those things that
we saw people getting 4 seconds faster over the course of practice. So, I mean, you just put down some laps, you'll figure it out and get a little bit more comfortable. Maybe some cards fall your way, and you might wind up with a top 15, top 20 at the end of the night.
Yeah, so let's talk strategy while we're thinking about it, Brandon. Ooh, as we ride on board with Adrian Schumacher here, going around the hairpin again. Looks like he might be able to get the 53 this time.
Oh, this is going to be real interesting how they handle this as they come up on the narrowest chicane on the racetrack. I think this might be something where Schumacher maybe gives. Actually, Susi going to give as he had the nose out in front to the inside. He did not like that line one bit, though, and he's going to give up that spot and fall behind.
That's a move. Schumacher on up to second now, almost 8 seconds behind Balliet. So Balliet doing what Schumacher did on Tuesday and just pulling away here early on. 7 laps in the books here, currently turning lap number 8, and that 82 goes to second.
Yeah, looking good now to see if it's, did he lose a little time there battling with Josh Susi and Austin Reedy, or was it that Joshua Balliet is that much faster right now? Now we get to find out. About a 0.6 of a second difference since that pass put down from Schumacher between he and Susi. So I think maybe he might see that little bit of daylight, maybe starting to put down some aggressive lap times.
It's really interesting to see everybody's approach to like lines around this track, and you see the 82 really using all of the track to really get his arcs into the turns, and Susi kind of just more and more of a straight line into each turn, and it's saving him like surface area on the track, so he's able to pull up to the bumper of the 82 in some of the turns, and the 82 is really able to carry speed out of the turns because of the way he's approaching each one of these turns here at Circuit Championat. But yeah, looking good so far for each one of these guys.
Yeah, they're looking really smooth, and what you were just talking about, I mean, you kind of saw that as well Tuesday at Indy with just the different braking patterns, the different lines through some of those turns, and it really threw off some people, and it kind of bottled up some of those battles out there because you want to make that pass, but you just don't have a good line because of different braking patterns or things like that. So it's really interesting, like you were saying, to watch how everybody approaches this. Ooh, a little bit of a drift there for the 47. And still sliding that thing around at that. You were about to talk about strategy calls, and I think this is a good time to bring it up. So they can make it on one stop. The question is, do they want to go on one stop, or are they going to make it a two-stopper and get some fresh tires on there? As much braking and as many sharp turns there are around here, tire wear does come into play, and it's already a pretty loose race car around this racetrack as is, and that just kind of adds to it a little bit. And there's a nice pass right there from Cole Martin trying to work his way around Devin Zimmerman out of the exit of that final chicane.
Yeah, he got through there real good. Whoa, they almost made contact there. Got to be careful. Devin thinks better of it. Man, Cole was really using those rear tires, sliding all around this track here. Like you were saying, these tires are going quick from what we heard from some of the drivers, and you took a few laps around the circuit, and you say, you know, like a lot of drivers thinking about making a two-stop strategy with the speed difference and staying out there too long. So I think that's just something we don't typically see at road courses. Usually everybody on the same kind of strategy, and I'm excited to maybe see a little bit something different here tonight.
Yeah, and I think that's part of that decision making too might come into how the drivers are handling this racetrack in general, and I think there were a lot of people that were thinking maybe we would see a little bit more attrition with how difficult that opening lap was going to be with how much of a pack that we had there, but we've only seen 2 cars drop out of this race thus far, and so still 27 out on the racetrack. There might be that little bit of mindset of, all right, I'm just going to have to hang on to this thing and not risk that second pit stop and losing a whole bunch of time, as they got Cody Neal going way wide there in the chicane. Jovi Ray almost spins it on the exit, and that's going to open up a window for Cole Martin to try to pull back in. Oh, wow.
Man, that was a really snappy moment from 24, and that's going to give the 9th position to Cody Neal. So I want to go ahead and check out real quick an admin box rec replay, see if we can figure out what happened to the 50 here. Not sure if this is when he possibly came into some trouble. He's now back in 27th, well off the pace, a few laps down, but this could be something totally different. Yeah.
Oh, a little off track there. Probably got a time penalty.
So I think I found it back here now. Let's figure this out. This is Jacob Manning, last week's winner at Nashville, and our current points leader here through 8 weeks.
through the hairpin and just kind of took a little bit of an awkward line, a little bit of a slide, still hold it together pretty well.
It's coming in as a crash here, and I'm not seeing it, so we'll give it a few more seconds before we go back out live. Maybe it's coming into this final chicane where we saw him having some trouble before. And I don't know.
Yeah. Maybe that slide just kind of triggered it. Maybe it just went far enough around that maybe that considered it. I'm not sure.
Nonetheless, he is well off the pace here. And going to need some help. He's 2.5 minutes off the leader, Joshua Balliet.
Saw Jovi Ray go through the grass there, probably going to get a little bit of a time penalty, and he's going to lose a couple spots actually because he did lose a spot to Cole Martin. Did also have to let Devin Zimmerman by with that time penalty, and we got Joshua Balliet really just running away from this thing. Nice little 4-car battle back there with Jovi.
Yeah, let's go on back there. Jovi right here behind Seth Reed, Devin Zimmerman, and Cody Neal, who is further on up. That's Cole Martin up at the top of that pack. So, yeah, great battles still all over this track.
This kind of has that feel of what that race on Tuesday at Indy did, where you just got a couple guys that really looked like the class of the field, and then just little packs that are developing in these little races in with themselves. And I know, firsthand I had one that was around like 8th to 12th. That was kind of a good race out there, and you just kind of run like classes at that point, and that's kind of what it feels like we're starting to see here tonight.
Well, this is a replay. Let's look at the restart here. I'm seeing that it might be... Well, we don't want to do that. We are really struggling to find this Jacob Manning incident here.
I'm sure Jacob, when he watches this back, is going to be like, it's totally fine. We don't have to find it.
All right. We're going to give up on that, folks. Unfortunately, we don't know what happened. I'm not seeing any type of event on my SDK. So, nonetheless, Jacob back in 27th position. Right back here, though, with the battle for 10th. Cole Martin starting to pull away. Now you got Seth Reed and Devin Zimmerman side by side.
Oh, Seth Reed really going in hot into that chicane. He's going to go all the way through the grass, get it slowed up just enough, and he's going to have a heavy time penalty on that one. So, because I think technically he cut through 2 turns.
Well, that one will be easy to find for me. I'm not going to lie. So let's go ahead, ride on board here with Seth Reed. And you want to see not a fun moment inside a race car, this is it.
Yeah, they're coming into Pont de la Concorde, turns 8 and 9. Another one of the chicanes, and he just did not get that thing woed up. Either some wheel hopping or just kind of got a little bit shaky there and just lost control of that thing, but it did not want to slow down. Did a great job of keeping that thing from getting into anybody else, though. So it's going to be a big hit for him, but that could have been far, far worse.
Yeah, he's back in 14th now. So back up in 3rd, Austin Reedy trying to fend off Josh Susie. Reedy, who was riding behind Susie for a while now, up in 3rd position with Schumacher pulling away from these two now. He's kind of starting to reel Balliet back in slowly, but not sure if he'll be able to cover that gap as these laps are ticking off here very quickly. You see on the track map, pretty much all the surface area of this circuit is filled.
Yeah, starting to see that lap traffic showing up here as well with Joshua Balliet closing in. I believe I saw the 64, so that'd be Dalton McKinney. So we're starting to get to that point in the race where they're closing in on them, and that's about right with 12 laps in with some of the discrepancy in times that we were seeing. But nice battle here. This for 7th and 8th. Kyle Benson, Logan Truitt, 2 drivers that are fighting for some of those playoff positions. As we start factoring in those drop weeks, Kyle Benson, 3rd in natural points, but 2nd in the drop week standings after 8 weeks.
No surprise to see Benson up at the top of the standings, and he usually runs pretty well at these road courses, so no surprise to see him having a top 10 run so far. As you see the 25 to go and that hashtag go faster come up on the scoring pylon. Those 37 laps, they're ticking off here because the action has been packed from the get-go. So don't go anywhere. I have to imagine we will be seeing pit stops here very soon. We will come back with them hopefully on the other side of this break. Don't go anywhere.
Want to be a part of an established league on iRacing? A league that's competitive, fun, and above all fair? Look no further than Speed Racing Network. Originally known as Mid-South Madness, SRN has evolved into a league that can bring the best out in any given driver. Drivers work their way up through the ranks to hopefully one day call themselves a champion of Speed Racing Network. If you're interested in joining, don't hesitate to reach out to league admins to claim your spot today. Maybe you'll end up in the history books. If you're interested in becoming a sponsor in Speed Racing Network, feel free to head over to www.speedracingnetwork.com and reach out to an admin today. And as always, remember to go faster.
With the Butt Kicker Gamer 2, what you see and what you hear is what you feel. Butt Kicker. The future is feeling.
Silverback Tax Solutions specializes in dealing with IRS tax problems. If you are receiving threatening letters from the IRS, or if the IRS has placed liens or levies on your property, Silverback Tax Solutions can help you find relief. We have worked with hundreds of people to resolve their tax problems. If you're behind on filing your taxes, it's never too late to get on the right track. Silverback Tax Solutions can help with that also. Don't let another night go by where you lose sleep worrying about the IRS or your taxes. Head over to www.silverbacktacks.com or call 662-996-4357 and contact an enrolled agent today. We can help you gain peace of mind and deal with those problems for you. Back out here at Circuit Gilles in Montreal, Canada, and a great race. We were talking in the break, Brandon. Very impressed with every one of these drivers so far to this point.
Absolutely, and kind of hinted at it earlier. There's a little bit of trepidation from a lot of the drivers in the field, but we've seen some very clean racing. You see a lot of banged-in back bumpers there, and some noses crinkled up as well. Some drifting, as this is a pretty loose combination here with this car and track. But at the end of the day, they're keeping it on the racetrack, and we're seeing some pretty competitive racing.
Yeah, I'm just loving all the camera angles around this track too, and just the great battles that we're seeing in the top 10 and the top 15. And we were also talking, I think we might not see the end of once you see the 53 get some real air there. So he is definitely using the turtles, but I think we might be seeing a battle. I'm not saying this thing's over for Balliet yet. Schumacher might be able to reel him in with the speed he's running.
Yeah, the last lap, it was pretty level, but before that, it was about a 0.2 of a second gain every lap there for a bit for Schumacher. So Balliet maybe just kind of coasting a little bit, trying to conserve that little bit, not put that car in any danger. And like we've been talking about how loose this track is, how difficult this track is, you can run 36.9 perfect laps, but that last turn, that last combination could still jump out and bite you. So you got to be on it at all points. Maybe this is just a little bit of a back off by Balliet. Maybe Schumacher's a little bit faster. It's tough to tell still at this point, but that interval is starting to shrink.
Well, we've only seen one pit stop so far, and it's this man right here running a tribute car once again this week to the late Ken Block, who passed away earlier in the week. The 48 of Lucas Lyons made his pit stop on lap 13, so he must be one of those drivers that seems to think that two-stop strategy is going to be the one that gets him the best night possible here tonight.
Yeah, and a lot of that, I think, with those two-stop drivers is, I think, just going to be, let me maximize my finish here. Let me be as comfortable as I possibly can out on this racetrack. Those last handful of laps, when you're on that at the end of that fuel run, which is about 20 laps, is a very treacherous few laps there as those tires get really worn out. So we've already said it's a loose combination. You get worn tires on top of that, not any fun out there. So I think if you're not that comfortable comfortable, you definitely want to make that two-stopper and just try to get the most that you can.
I got to give a nod to Lucas. Went up against him in our fantasy football championship. So, yeah, you know, the two best teams out here. I got to give my boy a shout-out, Lucas, in the 48 machine for Highline Racing, trying to get his lap back from Joshua Balliet right in front of him.
He's trying to get his lap back. I'm trying to just do better next season in that fantasy league. But and there's a look to the inside. Oh, into the grass, and that I got to tell you, if I'm Joshua Balliet, I might be like, dude, kind of chill back there right now. I don't want to lose this 7-second lead. And you can see how far that interval just dropped. By the way, a good second taken off that. Back to Schumacher now.
That definitely affected his time here, and yeah, 6 seconds now back to Schumacher, and it's going slower or lower, excuse me. So see the gap shrink for the 82 to the 7. Now let's go back here again. This battle between Jovi, Devin, as well as Josh Marcy, still as good as it was a few laps ago. Jovi holding on to that 11th position right now, as you see Cole Martin in that red car a little bit further up. That's the 10th place car. He started 20th, already up to 10th, so he's pulling away a little bit after getting by these guys not too long ago.
Yeah, this pretty much the best racing on the racetrack right now is this group of 3. You could also throw in maybe Reedy and Susie about a second apart from each other for 3rd and 4th. But this has been pretty much the entire race right now. These 3 have been stuck around each other, and that's one of those things. You kind of get into that group, and it's hard to make that pass on a track this difficult, and also you just find level speed, and it's just kind of tough to get those opportunities out there. It gets frustrating as a driver, and one of the things, too, we're in about that pit window. Maybe we see an undercut.
Absolutely. So you kind of caught me off guard when you said A there. It made me feel like I was here actually in Canada, but it was actually the letter A. But, yeah, that joke fell flat on its face, Brandon, and we're still here.
We're still here. I thought I got all my jokes out of the way with the Molson, and now for some reason I have a scratchy throat.
Yeah, you need some Molson right now. Go ahead and get the beer out of that fridge, and why not when you're over the border here in Canada, get some Tim Hortons too while you're at it. So right now, Schumacher not closing the gap anymore, but it still did some damage with Lucas going through the grass there a little bit while ago. But the 7 machine, 6 seconds over his teammate. We got a pit here for the 93 of Devin Zimmerman, who we were riding on board with not too long ago, who was riding in that 12th position. So he is going to maybe make this a one-stop race. We'll see if he can make that happen, but that is going to spread the field out a little bit more. Right now, this battle for 3rd still as good as it's been all race long between Reedy and Susie.
Yeah, that pit stop for Zimmerman, that's going to be stretching it about as far as he possibly can. Maybe just try to conserve a little bit out there. A little bit of a drift there for Austin Reedy, trying to hold off Susie as they make their way through that turn. We're seeing that a lot at this point. There's another little tire spin, trying to get on that throttle a little bit too aggressively, getting onto this ultra long straightaway, longest straightaway on the track, as you can easily see there on that track map.
Yeah, that's always the case when you come somewhere new for the first time. You're not always going to have the best setup, so hopefully, as he takes a big ride through there, hopefully, I have a feeling with how good the racing's been so far tonight, and a decent-sized field here as we see this battle for 3rd go side by side into turn 1. I have a feeling we might be seeing some better setups, a little bit of better handling cars if we see this track on the schedule in the future. So Susie taking that 3rd position away from Reedy.
Yeah, that's we saw how airborne Reedy got going over the turtles there in that final chicane, and you don't really pick up much speed when you're in the air instead of on the ground, so definitely gave the opening there for Susie to make up that 1 second gap and starting to pull away there as he had a better line to get that exit out of the Senna S, that opening sequence of turns, and he's starting to pull away by about a second now.
So 20 laps to go on the board, and I think we're going to start seeing pit lane get a little busy as we get closer and closer to the halfway mark of this race. Devin Zimmerman coming off in 16th not too long ago, seeing a crash indicator here for the 33 car. Corey Stahl taking it around here in the hairpin, so I'm sure we've seen that quite a bit here tonight. A very treacherous turn back here.
And it's just, you're going from such a high speed, whoa-ing that thing all the way down, and it's also one of the few turns that it's, I'm not going to say it's banked, but it's just kind of a little bit little undulation to it, and so that kind of throws you off a little bit. There's a little bit of a bump there on that line as well. Just all of that comes down, and it's just kind of an awkward turn to get into as you're really trying to woe that car up before that hairpin.
So here's your battle right now for 11. Jovi Ray still holding on to that 11th spot. Seth Reed, though, he wants to. Oh, he clips the grass, and this is going to be a big hit for the 51. That's big hit for Seth Reed.
That is a huge hit for the 51. Nose first into the wall. See if he's got. Oh, there's no smoke coming out of the back of that thing. Might have got away with one there a little bit instead of having some engine damage. Might be all right as we see 3rd and 4th place coming on pit road at the same exact time.
Yeah, we got also 5th, 6th, 7th coming down as well. Bowdler, Truitt, Kyle Benson all coming for their service. You got Cody Neal, Dalton McKinney also coming down pit road. So I think this was the point in the race where everybody was looking at the time, that halfway mark. They're making this a one-stop race.
Yeah, they absolutely are. I think that was a big thing where they just aren't seeing the attrition out there to try to make this a two-stopper, and it's just too much of a risk trying to give up all those positions. We got one around to the hairpin. I just saw on my second screen. Looks like everybody good to go there. But, yeah, Josh Zusi back out on the racetrack, only going to drop a position to 4th, and that's only because Max Service still out there on the racetrack for one more lap.
You got Seth Reed coming down, Nathan De La Rosa on pit road this time too, Josh Siegfried, Josh Marcy. You can pretty much say everybody except the top 3 has come down to pit road to make their one stop here as they go into the DRS zone, Brandon.
Yeah, and I'm sure some of these guys wish there was DRS available right now with the size of the lead that we've seen from Balliet and Schumacher out there today. But, yeah, that'd be nice, actually. I'm curious how that would work.
Yeah, you got to be within a second, though, and these guys are well behind all of our leaders. So I don't know if it would be much help here tonight as you see our leaders who we were just talking about come down pit road. Balliet, Schumacher, both coming down. I have to imagine that will bring their teammate Max Service as well once he gets to the pit lane entry. So this will probably be the last lap. We see leaders making their one and only pit stop on the evening. No cautions tonight, so no other opportunities really for these guys to get that service.
Yeah, this is, they cut it in half. We're 19 down, 18 to go, so the perfect time for the race leaders to make that stop. They know they're good the rest of the way. Really, they can stretch it another 2 laps. That's where I'm still kind of curious if Devin Zimmerman going to be able to make it. I'm sure he's going to be playing a little bit of fuel strategy, maybe clutching that thing a little bit earlier, getting out of the gas instead of some heavy braking. He's in a very interesting position with when he came down pit road.
Yeah, and you see Zimmerman down there in 25th, 41 points back. He can't avoid a miscalculation on the old fuel calculator, 41 points back. That is a big gap to close, and right now, closing in on the top 10, he's going to need each and every one of these points as we tick off the weeks here in the Speed Racing Network season.
Yeah, and he was in that spot, too, he was running around that top 10, so there's that little bit of that motivation to take a gamble, maybe undercut, get a little bit of ground, and you could see that gap back to Jovi Ray as they've both made their pit stop now. Pretty significant size margin there. It's going to be about, looks like 6 seconds between the two, if not 7 seconds, so that's going to be something that might help, but if he doesn't make it the rest of the way, obviously that's really going to hurt, so I'm not too sure. If he makes it, it's a great call. If he doesn't, obviously that's going to be something he'll look back on at the end of the season.
Yeah, saving fuel at an oval is one thing, but finding an opportunity to do so at a road course is another when you're trying to keep up with some of the guys here in Speed Racing Network's Silverback Series, because we got some really talented road course drivers. But, Brandon, this shot, you see who's back there in that black and white car. See in your mirror, getting a little bit bigger, is Adrian Schumacher, and Balliet probably definitely taking notice of that.
Yeah, and I'm sure there might be a little chatter in that team radio also of like, I'm coming for you. I'm right there. But it's starting to close in. We came back from that break. It was about a 3-second difference since then, going from about 7 1/4 down to 4 1/4 seconds. A little bit more lap traffic, and this is one of those perils of being the leader. A lot of times on these road courses, the lap traffic will be pretty forgiving and give you that space, as we just saw Jeff Radke do in the 8 car. But there's some times when it's the race leader, you're still trying to fight for that as best as you can. When it's second place, not so much. So you get that little bit of a bonus there when you're second place.
Yeah, take a look there, and you see those times, all that green for Schumacher, but Schumacher a little bit slower than Balliet on the last lap. So Balliet going to be trying to put down his best laps, qualifying laps, for the last 17 laps of this race, because that 82 is coming.
Certainly closing in, now down to just over 4 seconds. And one thing that caught my eye there, we were looking at early on in the race, some of these lap times were around a 143, 144. We're seeing the 147s and 148s for the race leaders now at the end of that first run. That really tells you how much these tires are falling off on this racetrack.
Well, you see him up there. Balliet is that second car up there. He's separated by a lapper here. Not sure who it is between them, looking like it's going to be the 8 of Jeff Rackey, like you said a little bit earlier when he had to make the pass. But yeah, see if the 82 can get on by him a little bit easier than Balliet did. That's a time that you can make up some time if someone gets you at a little bit of a better point on the track, because even though he kind of gave him the space, it wasn't probably the best part of the track for Rackey to give it to Balliet. Very narrow portion.
And sometimes that just happens. You have the best of intentions, and you're going to give up that space, and you just catch somebody at the absolute wrong point. And normally it's either at the very entry of a turn or at the very exit of a turn, and on a track like this, that scrubs off a lot of momentum no matter what. And it's not anything that anybody's doing wrong. It's just bad timing.
Well, right here is the first guy that pitted here tonight. Lucas Lyons up to 14th now after coming down. Wow, really sends it in here. Woo! That made me a little bit nervous, but yeah, got past Chris Bishop here. Gotta wonder how he's feeling about his strategy after starting in 28 tonight. He is probably gonna have to make one more pit stop with coming down on lap 13.
Yeah, and that's kind of where it's going to be a little frustrating for him right now, because you can see that he's got a decent pace here in the mid-pack, but he's still going to be losing a good 40 seconds or so with that pit stop that he's still going to have to take. And I mean, he's still going to have to get gas, and very likely just going to put tires on it at the same time. It's going to wind up being a full pit stop there. So this is where that strategy does kind of have that drawback, where you take those 2 stops. You're going to be faster for a good chunk of the race, but you're also going to be giving up a whole lot of time.
Well, here's Susie with the big damage to the front end, still running in 3rd place. And feeling pretty good now with a pretty healthy gap between him and Austin Reedy, about 1.5 seconds between him and the 96. So maybe feeling better about coming away with a podium position for the 53 here tonight.
Man, he's been on quite the tear as of late as well. We've talked to him now a couple times here, including his win earlier in the season. So just somebody that he's really caught fire here, especially in the second half of the season, but a really strong campaign there for the 53.
Well, Brandon, you kind of teased it here before we came on here tonight. I'm going to take you up on it. Why don't we go for a little bit of a lap around this circuit here at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve?
All right, so we've already been through the Senna S's. This is going to be the first little chicane here. Or excuse me, this will be the second chicane. We already got a little bit deeper into this lap than I was anticipating. So they're going to go. Yeah, we'll work our way back around, but this is going to be probably the second highest speed portion of the racetrack right here as they get ready to go into another chicane, another very tight one though. This one going to be a little bit of a longer stretch between the two, but still pretty narrow. Now this is where I was talking earlier about how you have that undulation, a little bit of a rough braking zone. You can see that bump there on the left side as he goes all the way down, likely into first gear for most drivers. Some might stay in second. I'm one of those guys that prefers first as they work their way through the hairpin. Now onto the Casino Straight. This will be the highest speed portion of the racetrack, by far the longest straightaway. And then they're going to head towards the famed Wall of Champions, which gets that nickname from 99 F1 3 former drivers champions, including Michael Schumacher, all wrecking in this chicane right here, hitting that outside wall. And it's easy to do, as you can see how airborne Balliet gets. So he heads onto that front straightaway and towards the Senna S's, the opening sequence of turns. And this is just very awkward. Big brake pattern right here. Down into second gear. Going to probably come down to first for many drivers into this next turn. See that big stack up there. Maybe somebody getting loose and sliding it out of that second turn on the exit. But everybody keeping that thing straight as they get ready to go into the first chicane here, side by side. Not ideal going through this chicane.
Yeah, so yeah, we made our own start-finish line. That's a lap around this circuit here in Montreal, and we're going to stay on board here because this is going to be real interesting to see Balliet navigate. This is going to kill his gap with Schumacher.
Yeah, this is not what he wants to see one bit, and you can already see 2 seconds having come off 3 wide through the middle. Oh, man, risking that race lead there for Joshua Balliet, but he felt the urgency.
Oh,
that is for sure, because Schumacher now 2 seconds behind.
Oh, he would have been done if he stayed there, and he made it happen there cleanly, and I think every one of those drivers expected him to do that as the leader. They were definitely holding him up, and now we're going to see Schumacher probably do the same thing. He gets by Bishop back there. He's going to have to make this real aggressive and take advantage of that.
Yeah, his struggle is going to be coming up here. He might get one of these cars. He's going to be hoping that they just back off, but he's not going to be able to make many passes up until we get about that same point that we saw Balliet get super aggressive there, because there's just not really a good passing opportunity coming up here. I think Schumacher talented enough to maybe make that happen. Oh, one in the wall hard.
Lucas, looked like something happened with his wheel potentially. That was aggressive.
Yeah, it was either that, a little contact, maybe just threw that car off, or maybe just getting on the brakes and just wheel hopped it a bit and lost control.
Yeah, he's on pit road, and we'll go right back to that battle here. See Schumacher if he can get on by as he blinks a little bit. As he's side by side with his, I believe, 50 of Jacob Manning here. Manning going to put up a fight as he's a few laps down. I'm sure Schumacher not going to be too fond of that, but he's not going to worry too much as he goes to the inside here.
Yeah, I think a little bit of that was Schumacher got a little loose on that turn on the exit coming out of that, but there he goes right on by the 50. But you could see that gap with how aggressive that Balliet was. That gap closed down to 2 seconds, and it's right back up towards 4 seconds. So that big move from Josh Balliet really paying.
Yeah, and I know Schumacher probably not happy with how some of these guys are racing, but hey, there's nothing wrong with what they're doing right now. Let's see if we can figure out exactly what happened here with Lucas.
Well, let's see. So they're through that little kink of the turn there, and onto this.
Oh, he just overshot it, I think.
Yeah, he didn't get that thing slowed up and was trying to put it into the wall, it looked like. And unfortunately for Manning, just kind of in the wrong place at the wrong time, got a little bit of that follow through, but that could have been a whole lot worse.
Yeah, it was unfortunate for Lucas, who was trying a little bit of a different strategy. Not going to pan out for him tonight as he's out of the pits now in 23rd position. So 13 laps to go. And yeah, Balliet, that lead down to 3.8 seconds from what it was a few laps ago at 4.5. But Schumacher is going to try and take advantage of any more opportunities that may arise. He's still having trouble getting through that lap traffic.
And he just seems to be catching them at all the wrong points right now. And I mean, that move from Balliet, it was so aggressive but so impressive as well that he was able to make that work. And credit to everybody that was involved in that one, keeping that thing straight, nobody panicking on a pretty narrow racetrack. When you have the race leader who's been dominant all race long, shooting the gap 3 wide, which is a big-time move there, and he made it work. And it might be the move of the race that saves this win for him, because we've seen Schumacher closing in, but that gap really not moving a whole lot towards the direction of Schumacher at this point.
Yeah, I wish I could pull up that pass. Unfortunately, it doesn't register a pass when the cars are going a lap down, so that was probably the move of the race. I think we can go ahead and give him that because it definitely saved his chances here tonight. So the field is splitting up, separated out a little bit more. Susie has not been able to run down Reedy for that 3rd position where Susie was running for a long time here tonight. Reedy feeling pretty comfortable about his chances for a 3rd place podium finish here tonight, which is he's no stranger to here at these road courses.
Oh, it's I think we talked about that at the last road course race at Watkins Glen. Just kind of one of those sleeper road course picks. Anytime you come here, you obviously look at Schumacher and Balliet first, but I think you can make a case for an Austin Reedy or a Kyle Benson to be that third or fourth guy when it comes to these road courses, and Austin putting together a strong run here tonight in the 96.
Absolutely. So I don't know if he has a shot to get first and second without them really messing up there, but hey, a podium here in the Xfinity Series and Speed Racing Network, not too shabby. And all you got to do is keep stacking those points here as we head towards the playoffs, because a lot to race for. You're not just racing for a spot in the playoffs, you're racing for bonus points from your regular season finishing position in the top 10. So a lot to race for in these last couple of weeks for these guys.
Absolutely, and for Austin Reedy entering this race fourth in the point standings after his win at Kansas not too long ago, only 24 points behind Jacob Manning, who we've seen really struggling there tonight in 27th place right now. So this is going to be a monster night for guys like Benson, Balliet, and Reedy, and Susie, all in the top 5 in points, 2nd through 5th, all running in the top 10 here in this race.
So we ride on board with Austin Reedy as he goes by the 13 of Jonathan Byer, who is the first car lap down in 18th. So Reedy gets by the lap traffic pretty easily here as we watch him come through this set of S's, as he's got a few lap cars behind him. Smooth sailing for a few laps out in front of him.
Just we're starting to see this race kind of gap out for the first time here tonight with the positions. Not anybody really within a couple seconds of each other. Haven't seen that all night long. And there we got a little bit of a battle here with Zimmerman and Martin. That for 11th and 12th. But aside from that, everybody pretty well spread out now.
Yeah, so Devin, we saw have a little bit of trouble earlier. Came down pit road, one of the first cars to come down pit road. You can see the damage on that 93, still having a pretty decent night after starting 10th, running 11th, but that 10 machine behind him has been one of the faster cars on the track since the green flag dropped here tonight, so he's going to have a tough battle with Colt Martin coming down 3 laps after him, has some fresh tires here.
And we still got to wonder if there's enough fuel in that 93 car for Devin Zimmerman to make it the rest of the way, because he is on the biggest gamble, coming down a lap or two earlier than much of the field, 3 laps earlier than a couple of drivers. So this is going to be one of those big gambles here. If he's got enough fuel, it's great. He's looking like he'll probably finish in the top 12, even if he gets passed by Cole Martin. However this shakes out, it's still going to be a solid finish there for Devin, but he really took a gamble.
Yeah, you see Cole, one of those drivers that really uses all the track surface they provide there. A very wide exit, but it narrows out there to this long backstretch that you described for us earlier. And Cole Martin's going to try and outbreak Devin Zimmerman here, maybe get a good run heading into that wall of champions.
It always looks so enticing when you get that run in that braking zone, trying to get Woad up there into turns 13 and 14, and you're just like, oh, there's the move, and then you're like, I can't go anywhere because that is way too narrow to try to make that pass.
So with 10 laps to go, we're going to step aside one more time and run our final commercial break and come back with the exciting finish of the Maple Leaf 100. Don't go anywhere.
With the Butt Kicker Gamer 2, what you see and what you hear is what you feel. Butt Kicker. The future is feeling.
Silverback Tax Solutions specializes in dealing with IRS tax problems. If you are receiving threatening letters from the IRS, or if the IRS has placed liens or levies on your property, Silverback Tax Solutions can help you find relief. We have worked with hundreds of people to resolve their tax problems. If you're behind on filing your taxes, it's never too late to get on the right track. Silverback Tax Solutions can help with that also. Don't let another night go by where you lose sleep worrying about the IRS or your taxes. Head over to www.silverbacktx.com or call 662-996-4357 and contact an enrolled agent today. we can help you gain peace of mind and deal with those problems for you.
Want to be a part of an established league on iRacing? A league that's competitive, fun, and above all fair? Look no further than Speed Racing Network. Originally known as Mid-South Madness, SRN has evolved into a league that can bring the best out in any given driver. Drivers work their way up through the ranks to hopefully one day call themselves a champion of Speed Racing Network. If you're interested in joining, don't hesitate to reach out to league admins to claim your spot today, and maybe you'll end up in the history books. If you're interested in becoming a sponsor in Speed Racing Network, feel free to head over to www.speedracingnetwork.com and reach out to an admin today. And as always, remember to go faster.
All right, back out here at Montreal here in the Silverback Tax Series. Nothing changing out in front. It's going to be Joshua Balliet out to a pretty sizable lead. It's grown a little bit over the last couple of laps. Adrian Schumacher now 5.5 seconds back, but you see it getting smaller and smaller. 8 laps to go here at the Maple Leaf 100.
Yeah, closing in down to about the last 20 miles or so for Joshua Balliet, trying to close this thing out as he's led this since the very start of the race after starting in position number 2, but he took that lead early and has not given it up ever since as he makes his way around that hairpin, coming to 7 laps to go this time by. Still that 5.5 second lead. Really the only close battle within the top 10. Kyle Benson, Logan Truitt, that the race for 7th and 8th. They're within about a second of each other as they're setting themselves up for a very solid night here. Both drivers inside that top 15 in the point standings. Logan needing a little bit of some space there, though. I mean, he's still 19 points clear of that cut line, but that's a number that's still a little dicey here, so this could be a result that he needs.
Yeah, you see him sitting there in 12th and a few other guys there. You mentioned McKenny, 16 points above that cut line. He is probably not having the night he wanted back in 27. So, yeah, some guys going to be sweating bullets here as we run out of time here in the regular season to get it done. So we'll see if anybody can make up some spots. Plenty of time to do it with a few laps left in this one, 7 to go with Joshua Balliet crossing the stripe right now.
Yeah, this is a big opportunity, and a lap ago it was Kyle Benson out in front, so right when we were coming back from break, he made his way around Logan to take that 7th position for Kyle, sitting there second in points, but very likely maybe seeing himself possibly as the points leader. It's going to be tight between him and Balliet coming out of this race with the result that Jacob Manning, our points leader, is going to be having there inside the bottom 5 right now in this race. Ooh, got one sliding out of the final chicane. I want to say that was Cody Neal back there in the 47. If it wasn't, it was a lapped car. It was a lapped car right in front of him, actually. The timing kind of threw me off there, but dicey moment there for the 47, who's been having a strong night.
Yeah, not able to see exactly who it is that you're talking about. But
Lucas Lyons, it looks like, in the 48 without a hood now.
Yeah, he's had a tough night. We've seen him in the grass a little bit here, and the strategy not working out and overshooting some braking zones, and that's what a long race here at a circuit that we are not familiar with can do to your car. We knew a lot of guys were nervous coming in with how loose this setup was, and that just makes it all that harder, and that is why we were as impressed as we are with how this race has panned out for some of these guys here tonight.
And speaking of mistakes, not too sure what just happened, but Adrian Schumacher all of a sudden 4 seconds farther back than he was a lap ago. It's now a 9-second interval, so not sure if just kind of catching some lap traffic at the wrong point or maybe just a little unforced error there. One of the things I always try to tell people at road courses, and sometimes I always say Schumacher and Balliet may be immune to this, but every road course you're going to see somebody make about 5 mistakes, if not closer to 10, maybe 15 or 20. It's just what size mistake. How did they recover from the mistake? And that even includes maybe drifting it out of a turn or kind of missing your braking point, like minor things like that. But it's, do you let them build up? Do you let them affect you? Or does it turn into something major? Everybody's going to be making some mistakes at some point. We may have just seen it.
Yeah, not seeing any off-track incidents or anything that would have registered an incident point for the 82. So, like you said, might have just been some lap traffic he's still dealing with here. That's Jacob Manning, who's currently 25th and a few laps down just in front of him. So Schumacher having trouble with this lap traffic, unlike we've seen with Joshua Balliet, who's just made it seem easy out there in the 7.
made it seem easy or just made it seem absolutely terrifying, but incredible and how he was able to navigate his way around through there as he works his way down the Casino Straight, coming to 5 laps to go. And that is a very deceptive piece of track that he just went through. And that exit of the hairpin, you mentioned it earlier, very wide exit, but then it kind of has this awkward narrowing, a little bit of a turn to the left and then a little bit of a turn to the right, and it's super loose when you come out of that turn too. You have to be very gentle on the throttle to try to get it back up to speed, but if you take too long, you're giving up too much ground. It is a delicate balance coming out of that hairpin.
Yeah, just watching Battle, get everything he can out of this car. It makes it just seem like they're driving on ice out here almost. And I'm sure that's how a lot of these guys feel with the hot track surface. Not really cooling off here in the afternoon hours. It's a hot one out here tonight, so that is not helping at all. So, a handful for a lot of these guys, but Valiant knows how to get it done.
And I tell you what, as difficult as this was and as much trepidation and concern that we were hearing, you look at that pylon, not atypical from what we typically see at road course races in general here. Maybe at a Watkins Glen or a track that everybody's very, very used to, it'll be a little bit tighter. This is kind of what we typically see, though. You'll see a couple guys within maybe 10 seconds or so, and then we'll start seeing those packs start to develop. This really feels timing-wise like it did at Indy on Tuesday, and there weren't really any complaints about the setup. It was just a difficult racetrack. So I think we're seeing these guys really step up to the challenge and handle this one really well.
Yeah, I think the closest battle we have on the track isn't even closer than 2 seconds of a margin, so no real battles happening anywhere. And to be fair, this would be the case if Cup Series, Xfinity Series, or whoever where they're racing, if they were racing green the whole time, it would probably look a lot of the same with some of the guys out there in the professional ranks.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to go back to Tuesday, I think we had one within 20 seconds of Schumacher, and then you had to go back another 10, 15 seconds. And then we had that little bit of a group where it was like 15 seconds from, I believe, 4th to 11th. So it's kind of one of those things that we see it very similar here tonight.
So 4 laps to go officially here, and not many more to go for the 7 before he possibly finds himself in victory lane for the second time this season. So he got one early on here this year and looking to pick one up before we get to the playoffs, maybe a couple more before we get to the playoffs, if he can keep this momentum going. He's got his teammate Devin Zimmerman next in line to go a lap down. That'll be 13th, and then Cole Martin's just in front of him.
Now, I'll tell you what he's going to be looking forward to right now in that 7 car is this time in the playoffs this season. First time in SRN history, we're going to see some road course racing in the playoffs. That's going to be kicking off at the Roval here for the Silverback Tax Series. And, it looks like he's on his way to possibly going 2 for 2 here on the road courses. So gets into the playoffs, gets that little bit of a boost, and maybe runs the triple here in all 3 of these road course races, starting off the playoffs right.
Not the Triple Crown in SRN. Could he do it? Maybe. So I'm a big fan of the Roval. Should be a good one out here. We've run it for multiple seasons. Always puts on a great show. So there he goes. That's going to put Cole Martin a lap down. So only 11 cars on the lead lap. The last one going to be the 11th place car of Seth Reed. So let's go ahead. We got somewhat of a battle here. That's Kyle Benson, Logan Truitt here. The battle for 7th was within a second now with this lapper, Jonathan Byer, holding it up a little bit.
I was wondering if he was maybe going to throw a little assistance there.
Truitt gets in the wall.
It's Truitt. I think he was going to try to go on the high side around Byer and just maybe got in a little bit awkwardly and caught that little Armco barrier just a bit. Slides that, so it doesn't look like too much damage. A little bit of crinkling there on the left front, but not anything too bad. But the bigger thing is going to be he lost about 2 seconds there to Benson in that process, or excuse me, about a second there to Benson in that process, and now still having to work to get around Jonathan Byer. He does there, but might be a little too too late at this point with that gap that just opened up.
Yeah, so the JBR car is currently running 8th, 14th, and 18th. That's Logan Truitt, Marcy, De La Rosa, so those are their highest 3 running cars of tonight's race. So be hopefully hoping that that's going to be enough to get them the win here this week in the team standings. So yeah, not what you want typically when you're working with teammates, but hey, no harm, no foul. I think he was going to have a tough fight getting by that one with 3 laps to go here.
Yeah, and Kyle still pulling away just that little bit, and That's going to be a nice night there for Murray Reedy Motorsports as well, because you're looking at that one car of Kyle Benson. He's running 7th. Austin Reedy going to be sitting there in the 3rd position, so they're having a solid night there. And obviously Tank Racing with a real good night here, 3 in the top 5 with Balliet, Schumacher, and Service. So Tank Racing, we talked about that big matchup, battle of 7-1 teams, JW Racing and Tank Racing. That one should be pretty definitively going towards Tank Racing tonight.
Yeah, not the night for JW. Susie in 4th, Seth Reed in 11th, and then the next one up in line is going to be Michael Larch in 20th. So, yeah, I think that one's going to be pretty well in hand for the Tank Racing guys. And Phoenix, I believe, is going to come away with the win over Blackout if things hold the way they are. Looking like Highline with 3 cars to 1 for Barr. That's going to be a W for them. But Murray Reedy and JBR, that's going to be a good one so far to finish this one out.
Absolutely. And, we got 2 laps to go, a little bit of time. Just want to give a nod to a couple of guys we haven't mentioned a whole lot tonight. Max Service sitting there in the 5th position. Just a nice, quiet, strong run. That's kind of about what I expected from him there. Just patient driver, taking his time around here, not going to get into any trouble. Top 5 going to be a great result for him. Right behind him is going to be Daniel Bowdler running in the 6th position. Another one of his typical nights. Just real quiet, real smooth, not getting that 6 car into any trouble, and he's going to wind up with the top 6 finish here tonight. And then Cody Neal, this is going to be a real strong finish for him in 9th place out of Highline Racing. Just a much-needed run that he's going to have here outside of the top 20 in the points coming in, but this 9th place finish going to do wonders for him.
Yeah, great run, and you always want to make a name for yourself and take as many top 10s as you can when you're a rookie here in Speed Racing Network. Not easy to come by any means. So Joshua Balliet, he is driving around and kind of just in cruise control. 11.5-second gap between him and Schumacher as he comes around the hairpin. And he's going to be smooth sailing out of it, going down this backstretch. He's got a lap car just in front of him. That's the 51 of Seth Reed, so I don't know if he's going to have to worry about him. There's a little bit of a gap between those 2 drivers, but he might be able to get to that 11th car to put just 10 cars on the lead lap at this one.
Yeah, I don't know if he's really going to want to push it, though. He's got a 12-second gap back to Adrian Schumacher. One more lap around here. And kind of what I said earlier, you can have 36.9 perfect laps, but any point of this racetrack, it can jump out and bite you if you just kind of relax a little too much. I will say, all these drivers, it's probably going to be the mental team race that they'll have all season long. So big credit to everybody out there. Seems like everybody's kind of kept it calm, kept it on track, and we've had a pretty solid night of racing here. Obviously, with Joshua Balliet taking the biggest prize of it here, 12 seconds out in front as he works his way through this final lap.
Yeah, and speaking of taking things, he just took the final lap. That white flag is out here, and he is probably, like you said, just going to be content with riding behind this 51. No need to pressure or push anything, as he is looking pretty good in that 7 machine. No battles really to mention besides this one to see if he can possibly put Seth Reed a lap down and put 19 cars total on the night a lap behind him. So great speed out of that 7 machine for Tank Racing all night long, and it's really indicative when you beat Adrian Schumacher, who's pretty notoriously one of the best here in Speed Racing Network on the road courses by 12 seconds.
Yeah, he's definitely been the ace of road course racing here, but Joshua Balliet making that argument as well, especially in these Xfinity Series cars. He's about ready to go 2 for 2 over his teammate here, so, it kind of feels like real life. Everybody says Chase Elliott was the ace there for a long time in the Cup Series. He kind of got caught a little bit. Maybe in these Xfinity cars, Joshua Balliet with the number of Adrian Schumacher.
Well, heading towards the final chicane and the Wall of Champions. And that's all he's got left in front of him before he crosses the stripe. You see the checker flag out here, and he is coming to the start-finish line to take his 2nd win of the season. Joshua Balliet wins the Maple Leaf 100.
And does it in dominant fashion. I do want to say, I believe that was every single lap led tonight for Joshua Balliet. 37 for 37. Adrian Schumacher across the line in 2nd. We got some time to kill before we get to finalizing the podium there. Austin Reedy still about 2 seconds ahead of Joshua Susie, but still some work to do out there.
Yeah, Susie's going to be disappointed with that one. Had a third-place car probably in his own mind, but Reedy going to take third. Susie will come home in fourth. So who's going to claim that final position in the top 5? Looking like it might be the 81 of Max Service. I'm sure he'll love that as a native Canadian. The 81 will cross the stripe in 5th.
Very solid run, and you know what? For everybody that kind of threw out that the broadcast curse came back last night, guess what? Both of our picks in the top 5.
There you go. Daniel Bowther just behind McKinney, who's a lap down. He's going to come home in 6th in that number 6 car. Kyle Benson with a 7th place finish. Logan Truitt going to come home in 8th.
We got the 47, Cody Neal, making his way through that final chicane, and he'll wrap up the 9th position here. And Jovi Ray just about 4 seconds ahead of Seth Reed. That'll be for the final spot inside the top 10, as Jovi now on to that final. No, I was about to say where he was, and I think I messed that up. Nope, he is coming down into that final chicane. Kind of lost my marker there. But yeah, he's coming through that final turn. Little bit of a drift, but he's still going to have enough of an advantage over Seth Reed to round out the top 10.
Yeah, so you see Seth Reed back there, and that is going to be your top 10 here tonight. So here he is, Balliet, waiting for everybody to go on by and finish their race. That's Schumacher going by, your runner-up here tonight in his Stig-looking racing uniform in that 82. The man, though, the 7 machine, he's got to find a spot to celebrate. Where do you choose here, Brandon?
Apparently he's just going to gun it right through there and try for it. And this is going to be a short celebration.
That's the wall of Balliet now, that inside wall. We got the wall of champions to the outside, and that is his wall. He claimed it with that move.
Yeah, I think he kind of knew this was going to be a rough one to celebrate on, so I was thinking maybe just go into the little bit of the opening there in between turns 1 and 2, but he's going to go a nice tight donut here even after destroying that car a bit.
Oh, just out of my view there. I was hoping to get a good shot of him. You can see it. There he goes. Man, but a great burnout nonetheless for the 7. He's going to go ahead and pack it up. And we're going to go ahead and head up to the blimp for the rest of the night as you still see cars going around and finishing their cool-down laps. So we went through the top 10. Let's go through the rest of our top 20 here tonight. Seth Reed gets that 11th place finish here tonight for JW Racing. Cole Martin comes home in 12th. Joshua Marcy comes home 13th with Devin Zimmerman, and 14th Chris Bishop with a solid 15th finish here tonight.
It'll be Joshua Siegfried in position number 16. Jeff Radke will finish in 17th. 18th will go to Nathan De La Rosa. 19th to Jonathan Byer, and Michael Larch will round out the top 20, where normally I say how many are on the lead lap? 24 within 1 lap of being on the lead lap.
Well, let's go ahead and see if we can track down some of our top finishers here tonight. Austin Reedy coming home in 3rd. See if we can find him in the Discord, and I am not seeing him. There he is. See if we can bring him on up here into the broadcast booth. Hey, Austin, it's Greg Olenek and Brandon Domain. Sorry to interrupt you with your teammates celebrating a great run here tonight. Tell us about your first race here in Speed Racing Network at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve.
It was terrible. This track is just not made for these cars, I don't think, and it was so tough. It was just like trying to race a stock car at an F1 track again, just like Coda. It's just so hard the entire time on the tires. Yeah, I don't know. It was super tough. I'm glad I put in a little bit of practice yesterday for today because, yeah, just there's so many things in every corner, all these hairpins, these tight corners where this car just does not want to do it or does not want to do what you want it to do, and you just got to work through that and make the least amount of mistakes throughout the race, though.
It still turned out into a very solid result, obviously, with finishing on the podium in 3rd place. And next time we come to a road course, it's going to be the first race of the playoffs. But before that, 4 races left to go. It kind of gets a little bit more what we're used to with some of these racetracks here in this final month before the playoff. How do you feel about this home stretch?
Yeah, I feel pretty good. I'm not really sure what these next 4 are, but I'm assuming they're ovals, so I like the ovals a lot more. I'm pretty good at road courses. I think the Roval's the next one, so I do like that one a lot, actually. But we just got to get through and gather up some bonus points for this playoff run. So we didn't get any tonight because I just drive like the hack half the time and got a bunch of X's. So, But we're excited. We're trying to get a win here in these next 4 and give ourselves a little boost heading into these playoffs.
Why do I feel like Austin's going to show up to Charlotte with Hack on his car next week now when we get out there for the Carolina 180?
It all depends if Tyler listens to this interview, if Hack is
Well, man, before we let you go, Austin, tell us if you got any friends, any family, any sponsors you want to give a shout-out to.
Timber Designs with Tyler Murray makes my paint and all my teammates' paints every week. And then TJ's team is a great foundation. Also, thanks to you guys every week. You guys put on a great show. The team loves showing up here every week. Can't wait for next week.
Awesome, man. Well, we appreciate you stopping on by the broadcast booth. And, get ready for Charlotte, man. You're going to be excited to get back out to the ovals.
Yep. I'll see you guys.
All right, buddy. Well, that was Austin Reedy coming home, P number 3 here tonight. Let's go ahead, track down our runner-up and bring Adrian Schumacher on up into the broadcast booth. We spoke to him on Tuesday after winning at the Indy Road Course. Comes home a runner-up here tonight. Adrian, it's Greg Olenek and Brandon Domain. Tell us about your experience tonight. We just spoke to Austin. He wasn't the biggest fan of the cars here at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, but what were you thinking of him out there tonight?
Yeah, this track is definitely meant for open wheel GT. But I had a good time. It was fun trying to battle the car and trying to make it work.
And it's an interesting week for you there too, because obviously winning at Indy, a pretty difficult road course in its own right, and then probably an even bigger challenge here tonight. But still, a second place finish here, trying to make your way back up in those point standings. Looks like you might find your way into that top 15 with some of the tough. The difficulties that some of those drivers had. How do you feel going back to the ovals here for the next month and getting that playoff push as we close in on the regular season finale?
Oh, going straight back to mid-pack.
Well, Adrian,
we'll fight. We'll fight.
Well, you guys are doing a great job of that this year. 7-1 overall in the tank standings, and I have to imagine you're going to go to 8-1 in those team standings for tank racing. So great run overall for you and the boys over there at tank racing tonight. But before we let you go, you got any friends, any family, any sponsors you want to give a quick shout out to?
Yeah, I'd like to thank Hunterton, Anesthesia, Healthcare Billing, 213 Simware, Invader Zim Designs, RJ Bishop Designs, Berg Arts Designs, Take Racing, teammates, and you guys for giving the broadcast. My family and grandma were watching, taking time out of their day to watch this, and good one to Mal. He outdrove me.
Well, we appreciate you and the family as always, man, and best of luck next week when we get out to Charlotte. Take it easy, man.
Thanks, guys.
All right, that was Adrian Schumacher coming home in P number 2 here tonight. A little bit disappointed after his run at the Indy Road Course. So let's go ahead and bring up Joshua Balliet now into the broadcast booth. Joshua, congratulations, man. A great run here tonight. Pretty sure you led every lap. If not, maybe just one. I can't remember if a lapper got by you on the pit stop or not, but nonetheless, great run. We spoke to the other 2 finishers on the podium here tonight, asked their opinions. They weren't the biggest fans of it, but you had to be having some fun out there with how fast you looked.
Yeah, it was pretty good. The setup had a tendency to kind of spin the rears a little too much, but once you kind of did some practice, you learned your way around it. It was fine, but you wore the rears a ton. By the end, you were really wetting tires.
Well, man, we were talking about it a little bit ago that when it comes to these Xfinity cars, you might have stolen the Road Course King title there from Adrian, as you got both wins here, Watkins Glen and Montreal. Now see if you can pull off the triple at the Roval. But I got to ask you, that move that we were riding on board with you when you kind of had 4 lapped cars right in front of you, and you shot the gap 3 wide down a narrow straightaway. I don't know if I can actually say the full term on here, even though it's on YouTube, but big confidence moment there, I'll go with. What went through your mind on that one, though? Because that was a wild-looking move.
They were jamming up, and on the first stint on the long run, Adrian was catching back to me, and I had an issue with another lap car that brought him close, and I was like, I'm not waiting for anyone else at this point. If you give me the gap, I'm shooting the gap.
You certainly did, and I think they were almost anticipating it with how fast you were coming up on them and knowing the anticipation of getting on by them with Schumacher just behind you. But that was awesome when that happened. But you made it look great out there tonight in that 7 machine. Looking like you're going to be pretty good heading into these playoffs. But before we let you go, you got any friends, any family, any sponsors you want to give a quick shout-out to?
Hunterton Anesthesia Associates, Healthcare Billing, 213 Simware, Vader Zim Designs, RJ Bishop Designs, Berg Arts, Ed Scher for being an amazing spotter today, keeping me calm with all the lap cars, and yeah, it's about it. Good run with my team.
All right, man. Well, congrats once again on an awesome run here tonight, and we will see you in a few. Well, actually, I'm used to us being off for a few weeks. We'll see you next week when we get out to Charlotte, man.
Yee.
All right, Brandon. Well, that's going to do it for us here tonight. Montreal in the books. The drivers might not have had as much fun, but I was very impressed with what we saw here tonight. A very fun track and a very fun broadcast for us up here in the booth.
Yeah, I feel like if it came down to a vote, I don't know if we would be back here next time around, but just from the sound of it, we might get one yay vote to coming back. But one thing I do want to say, on the ovals, we typically have 17x on the incident count limit. On the road courses, it bumps up to 25x just to be a little bit safe because of off tracks. Not one driver had 17x here tonight. Very, very clean race. Only 5 drivers in double digits. Adrian Schumacher, the only one with a 0x on the night, so he's going to pick up the bonus point. But a great night of racing here on a very, very challenging track.
That's something we saw a lot here this week. We saw the same thing at the road course for the Cup guys. I don't think anybody saw disqualification based on incident points in the same case here tonight. So there you see it. Next race in the Silverback Tag Series is going to be the Carolina 180, January 12th at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. So we're going to be in Charlotte next week. The next race is going to be the Cup Series, guys. That's going to be the World 300. Brandon, whose idea was it to be a race, huh?
You're saying that it's going to be a long night to commentate. I'm going to be behind the wheel for that entire thing. So
absolutely, it's going to be a great one, and please come on by and see the late push for some of these guys as they hope to get into the playoffs. But that's going to do it for us here tonight. For myself, Brandon Domain, all the guys behind the scenes, Sean Griffith, Jason Tripp, and each and every one of the drivers, we sincerely wish you guys a good night. Thank you for stopping by. Happy New Year, and we'll see you next time.